To build a new company from scratch must be an incredible accomplishment, or feel like an incredible accomplishment for you.
Well, I think that when I first went out to raise capital and put it together, I think that there were a lot of folks that I met with that thought it was straight up crazy. I had zero experience in movies and television in that arena. And my thought process was, at the time, it was a $30 billion industry, give or take. Just the film side, it was, I believe, the country's second biggest export. And yet there was no institutional capital around the business, which was highly unusual for a business of that size. There were a lot of, they do German tax funds and sort of these unusual structures. And so I thought, if I could build a company that was adjacent to that ecosystem, use their global distribution, that, after studying the financials, there was a way through if you made great content. I was very fortunate to have partnered with Warner Brothers. They were great to me. Alan Horn, who was running at the time and is now at Disney, was an incredible mentor and still a dear friend. And sometimes you just get lucky. We met a young director named Chris Nolan, who turned out was pretty darn good. And, but it was definitely different in terms of business and understanding how things worked and why they worked and et cetera. But, it was definitely an interesting journey.
I have to ask you about Christopher Nolan. I mean, he really is some kind of genius. What was it like to work with him? I
always used to say, and I wasn't joking, I just say, could we get your catering order right? Like, how do we, film is a collaborative process. And, you make a movie, or you're about to make a movie, and the studio gives their notes, the producer gives their notes. We certainly give our notes. And with Chris, I'm not kidding. We would just say, thank you so much we're very glad that we're financing your movie, and we'll see you at the premiere. I mean, he really, I think, is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. And it was evident very early. Batman Begins was our first movie. And, he's just incredibly talented and continues to go on and make amazing things.
Have you thought about the business much since? I mean, you look at what the business has gotten completely turned upside down with COVID, and maybe there's some inefficiencies ripe for innovation.
So a couple things. I think COVID has impacted, all of us in so many ways. I think it's accelerated what was already happening. One of the reasons that I thought it was the right time, at least for me, to exit the business is when you look at the theatrical exhibition business, and you look at the way making a movie, putting it out, getting your theatrical run, then getting paid in secondary windows and so forth. All of a sudden, when you have the streaming services whose multiples and market caps are completely different, right? They're based on completely different metrics than a media company's, is able, with almost unlimited resources, to make movies. And I would hear some people in the business say, yeah, but the biggest, most talented actors and directors aren't going to go work for, I guess they did, right? Because the size and scope of some of the things that are being made is jaw-dropping. I mean, you look at Game of Thrones, or you look at some of the big series that Netflix is doing, or Amazon, they're compelling, right? They're big cinematic experiences. Now, as someone that, as a fan, loves movies, there are certain films going and sitting in a cinema in that sort of venue and scope, I think is important. I loved doing that growing up. And I don't pretend to know exactly what's going to happen. But I think people are also getting so used to watching, listening, experiencing things on demand when they want to watch and experience them, that, things by appointment are harder and harder to pull off, because it's a fundamentally different experience.
Yeah, and of course the home entertainment gets better and better and better, and movie theaters didn't really keep pace. I mean, there was IMAX, and some of them tried to have better seats and stuff. But on the whole, the advances in your living room much accelerated much faster than the advances in the movie theaters.
Yeah, and it's tough. Look, when you talk about completely changing, thousands of venues, right? What that coordination, what that bill, what that looks like, it was tough on them. So I have every sympathy for theater owners, and especially now and what they're going through. I just think that change is inevitable, and we're just seeing the acceleration of that change through this period of time.
You made blockbusters like Godzilla and Jurassic World. Are blockbusters a thing of the past?
I don't think so. I mean, look, the thing that to me is compelling and amazing is used to be something was a 2-ish hour movie or a 13 episode series on television and some small variations. Now you can do almost anything. The duration of the story is not contained within one of those boxes. But no, I think there is still something special about collectively going and seeing something that is bigger than imagination, and sort of everyone in the world is buzzing and talking about it. I was always in awe when we would put something out that would capture the imagination for a moment. It was kind of surreal. So I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, you have filmmakers like besides Chris Nolan, you have Jim Cameron, Steven Spielberg, all these incredible storytellers. And I think at the heart of this, that it's part of our cultural fabric, and we're going to continue to see great storytellers come to the forefront. It's just, I think, going to be viewed and experienced slightly differently.